It's back. Well, I actually sold this thing for 70 bucks, and guy found it on my listing on Craigslist, was thrilled that I still had it available for 70 bucks. Came right down and paid me for it. We had a cool conversation about, you know, all kinds of vintage audio and stuff like that. And he told me about how he was still playing in a band and yada yada yada. And I actually, because of COVID, I ended up setting this thing up in the back of my wife's Honda CRV. I just lifted up the hatchback and set it in there and put the speaker in there, ran an extension cord out, and was able to show that it was working. So he paid me and went down the road, and then about a day later he texts me and he says, hey, he says, I don't know if there's any kind of return policy, but there's something going on with the amp. And he said that after playing for about 30 minutes, it started to cut out, almost as if it was losing power. But he said the lights were still on, but it was just cutting out. And I guess he was playing with the controls, and all of a sudden it cut back in when he had the gain really up high, and it almost blew his speaker. So he said, something's not right with the thing. So I said, no problem. I said, you can, you know, bring it back, and what I'll do is I'll just give you your money back, and I'll take a look at it, and if I can find the problem fairly quickly, you know, if you still want the amp, you know, obviously I'd be happy to sell it back to you. So I decided to take a look at it tonight. What I'm going to do, I've got the speaker hooked up. I'm suspecting a bad solder connection or a bad cap somewhere in here. So let's see, gain 1 is maxed, gain 2 is maxed, so I definitely don't want that. You know what I forgot to ask him? I forgot to ask him whether or not he noticed it on both channels or not, because that would make that could be a clue as far as troubleshooting goes. But let's let me turn this level down. All right, so the complaint that he mentioned about this amplifier was that he said after about 30 minutes of playing, it cut out, and then he was playing with the volume controls, and then it cut back in again violently. You know, almost blew his speaker. Probably happened was he wasn't getting any output, so then he turned the level way up, and then all of a sudden decided to cut back in right at that moment. So I'm on the left channel now. Turn the reverb down. Both gain controls seem to be working. There we go. Just cut in. So right now I have my drum machine input into this, and you could probably just barely hear that, but I'm like the Fonz. Hey! And off again. So we got a bad connection in there, which is great news, because once I find it, it should be just a matter of probably hitting it with the soldering iron to straighten it out. Oh, there we go, right there. Well, it's definitely flexing the board in the area of the power supply down here is what's causing it to cut in and out. There is a jack down this end that is marked insert, and I think that would bypass all of the preamplifiers and allow you to insert a line level signal directly into the power amp section. The way that jack would work is that when there's nothing plugged into it, the contact should close and let the signal pass through that jack. But if those contacts are dirty, could be the problem right there. Using this pick and I'm pulling up on the little contact. Just playing with that a little bit seems to have all of a sudden this isn't cutting out anymore. It might have been all it was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up on that little contact, spray underneath it. So here's that jack, okay, that I'm talking about. You can see on the top, see these metal fingers right here. These are basically spring switches, or like leaf switches. So when I push in if I push in a 1/4 inch jack into that, the way it works is the jack is going to push these 3 fingers up and allow them to break contact with this side right here, so that these 3 will now be in contact with the jack that's inserted, but not in contact with this side. When you pull the jack out, in order for the signal to pass through, these have to close back down and make a good contact with these 3 positions right here, and I think there's corrosion in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 1/4 inch jack and I'm going to insert it in there. And there you go. You can see those are now open. You can see there's a big space in there now. And now I'm going to take some contact cleaner and I'm going to get a little bit of this contact cleaner that eats oxide. Pull this back out. Yep, I think we're good to go. Well, that was nice and easy. Wish they were all that way.